Is Microstock profitable? Is uploading to Adobe Stock profitable? Today we're going to be talking about the numbers and how the numbers truly break down. I've been doing it for long enough now, maybe about 3 years, and I really want to get deep into it. It's crazy how time really flies. The first time I ever even talked about stock photography on this YouTube channel, I had already been doing it for multiple months, and I had mentioned it 2 years ago, back in 2023, in August, when Leonardo released an update to their photorealism. And I was talking about how I kind of created a whole bunch of images that were illustrations, but now that photorealistic images are truly a capability within AI, I dove deep and I was talking about those things. In that video that was literally posted back in 2023 in August, many people, and you can go to the video, many people requested that I talk more about it. I then kind of waited and waited until I became more comfortable with stock photography in general, and I've been talking about it since I've kind of got a better handle on it. Now, with that being said, guys, there's a lot on this screen. It took me many hours to finish calculating this. And yes, I am going to pull out my calculus sleeve on y'all. So if you guys are ready for this, we're going to talk about mathematically if it is likely profitable or not. You can apply these kind of situations to yourself and kind of use an understanding. For this video, I'm going to be using the account that I created publicly that everyone knows about in my members area. I revealed the different images that I uploaded. I revealed earnings. I revealed rejections, what images got rejected, what images got approved. And all of these images were created in a very, very short period or a very short span of time. The people that watch in my members area know about this. In this video, I will be revealing how much money there is to be made, how much money I made, and how much money you can mathematically predict to make. And let you be the judge if it's profitable or not. I will say that for me, there's only a few ways that it makes sense to do stock photography, and I will mention those things here in this video today. So let me kind of be clear so that we can bridge the gap between everybody who is a member and who have seen my account on the back end. And this is, once again, a demo account. This is not my main account. This is not an account that I depend on for income. This is just simply a demo account. And this was the creation of this account was prior to Adobe announced that they're going to be more strict on account creation. Not on photo uploading, but account creation. There's a big difference between the two. If you guys remember, I posted a video maybe a week or two back, I don't really remember, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, who really knows, where Adobe sent an email out to everybody stating that they will require things like phone verification for you to sign up and create extra accounts. And they kind of mentioned to everybody that if you wanted to create an account, you would need permission, things like that. So, yeah, essentially all of this was created beforehand. And so the account that has the information that I'm going to be talking about today is just purposely a demo account for YouTube. This is the account that I'm going to be basing the stats off of, okay? And being that people have seen what was in the account, what images are in the account, it makes 10 times more sense, because if I talk about an account that was private, that nobody really saw, it doesn't really make sense to talk about that, okay? So let's go kind of get into it. So is it profitable? Let's go ahead and use my test account as an example. I want to make sure you guys are seeing everything on my screen here, all right? About roughly 6,100 images were uploaded. Once again, the people who watch know exactly how much. It was roughly like 6,128 images, something like that. I'm not counting the exact numbers, or 40 images. I'm not counting the exact numbers. We'll just estimate here. So about 6,100 images were uploaded. If you're curious as to how fast they were uploaded in about a 14-day period of time. I was planning on doing this in early January, but January pretty much I was sick for almost a whole month. And then February, I kind of hurt my back. I don't want to keep talking about this. If you've seen my past videos, you know that. I mentioned that to everybody. And so I did pretty much nothing during that period of time. And then towards the end, towards like, maybe the 17th of February, maybe. February or even March. I don't remember, but it was basically a 2-week period of time where I did pretty much all the work on that account. Now, what was the work? The work was about 13,000 images created, okay, and about 6,000 images that were actually published. Not applied, but published. And what I mean by that is I had uploaded about 11,000 images to the account. And out of the 11,000, once again, 6,000, 6,100, 6,140, 6,128 were published. About 800 were rejected. I mean, you can add 100, 180, 120, whatever the exact number was. I'm not going to go sit there and look for the exact number. We're doing estimates here. But about 800 were about rejected. And the rejection rate of that 800, which is honestly a little bit high, but the rejection rate, I think, in my opinion, is a little high, right? 6,000 uploads, 6,100 submissions, 800 denials or rejections, or 792 or whatever it was, kind of high. But regardless, that's not the point. The point is there were about, if you do the math, 6,800 images that were submitted, 6,100 something plus were published or approved, and the rest were rejected, which is perfectly fine. About 13,000 images were created, and about 11,000 images were uploaded, and 6,000 published. I sometimes mix between upload and published, guys. When I say uploaded, all I mean is added to the platform, and when I say published, that means it was submitted and it was approved. Okay, so let me get that clear. So all of this work, right, this 13,000 images created, many images uploaded, 6,000 published, or 6,100, who's counting, that is just purely estimates, but more importantly, the work was done in about a 13 to 14 day period of time. I'm not going to be exact with my measuring, but you guys get the point, okay? So some people are curious as to how I did it. If you watch my YouTube channel consistently, then you know how I did it, but I used fully AI. I did not tag a single photo. I did not title a single photo. I did not create a single photo. I did not shoot with a camera a single photo. This was done in a matter of minutes, but over the course of, like I said, 13 days. I sat down with an AI tool. It sat down and tagged and titled hundreds and thousands of images for me. Like I said, I did not even type a single keyword on any of these images. All right? So as far as creation, you guys know I used Midjourney. I used Midjourney automation to make that happen. Very clearly, wasn't hard. I've shown it. Okay, so this is nothing crazy. If you want to see Midjourney automation, if you want to see image creation automation, if you want to see titling and tagging automation, all those links will be in the description of this video. I'm not going to bore people who already know about this to show it here. There's no point of doing that. This is a video about numbers, but the videos are created. I'll leave the links in the description where you can find those exact videos if you choose to automate yourself as well, right? But that's what we're figuring out. Is it profitable? So let's kind of talk about it, okay? My goal, to be clear, is to generate about 100,000 images on this demo account. Probably no more. I don't intend on consistently uploading to that account. We'll see what time brings. Who really knows how far things are going to go? But that's kind of my goal with time. It's not one of these goals that are pressing, okay, towards me. As far as my main business, which was the blogging and creating articles and websites, I'm pretty much done. I already sold that business, so I'm pretty much done. Okay, as far as real, active, hardworking goals, these are just kind of things that are nice, and hopefully I get to that point. Okay, so I want to be clear on that. This is not something I'm fighting for necessarily to get to that level, but I already have 2 main accounts. I'm busy as it is. Okay, and I already put in my fair share of work, so I'm just being clear on that. So, yeah. Okay, let's kind of get down to the numbers. So after 13 days, 14 days worth of work throughout time, I have not uploaded since. Okay, I have not done really any major uploads. The last major upload was the only period of time where I did upload and publish those amounts of a few thousand, 6,000, whatever, 5,000, whatever the numbers were. But though that period of time, guys, I have not done a real active uploading phase since. All right. The reason why is because we've been going through various different things. So I've been busy, like I told you guys, selling my websites, kind of getting that clear, dealing with attorneys, dealing with accounts, things like that, dealing with taxes. And also I have been dealing with the The rejections, just doing testing, figuring out what images will get approved, which images won't get approved, things like that. All right. And once again, this is aside from doing the work on the main accounts. So pretty significant. All right. And so what I have found was so far we have done 3 withdrawals of $25. If you're familiar with Adobe Stock, you can have, once you get to $25, you can do a withdrawal. We've done 3 withdrawals, and the 4th should be within the next few days. The current balance is $21.16. If people are watching my members area, I think the last video I uploaded 2 days ago, I know it says 1 day ago here, but by the time that you guys are watching this, it'll be 2 days. 2-day difference was roughly about $2 difference. It was like $19 or something like that. Maybe like $2.75 if you really want to add to it. But it really, what that imputes is about $1 per day of not uploading. Okay, so when I'm in my non-uploading phase, so I'm not uploading at all with an account of about 6,000 images, we're making about $1 and some change a day, but I just rounded it off to $1. Who's really counting doesn't really matter. At the end of the month, if you make $30 versus $45, does it really make a difference? Not really. Okay, it's about the same. All right, so the current balance, like I said, is $21.16. That's today. The video was uploaded 2 days ago in my members area. I think the amount that I had on that video was like 19 something, but you guys can double check, okay? But that's the point. That's why I come up with these numbers. Now, as far as my active period of uploading, see, when you're constantly uploading, you do make more money. That is absolutely a true thing, okay? Part of the reason is because when people are searching things, sometimes they hit that new switch. So if you're familiar with the filters, when customers on Adobe Stock are looking for images, they can sort by highest downloads, they can sort by new, whatever, and sometimes your images will come up and you'll get more downloads. During that period of time where I was extremely active for those 13, 14 days and images were getting approved, my earnings per day could have been from $2 to about $7 a day. However, it's fair to say that for most cases, because not every day was a $77 day, we can say from $250 to $415 per day. That's roughly the median, okay? Like I said, we're not going to count the extremes here because it wouldn't make sense to do so, especially if we're going to be doing mathematics and calculus. It wouldn't make sense, okay? The last significant upload, once again, was about 2 months ago, so I haven't really done any necessary work since. So you can kind of see of how much we generated thus far. Okay, my fourth withdrawal will be in the next few days, and simply because the current balance is about $21.16. Now let's kind of go over the numbers here. What happens in terms of prediction? See, the beautiful thing about calculus is that it allows us to work with predictive numbers. We can kind of foreshadow what's going to likely happen. Now let me be clear. Because these numbers are the way they are, some of you guys will probably have similar data to me, okay? If you really break it down on an image per value basis. If you were to really divide the numbers and take an image per value, you could have similar numbers, but some of you might not. Like, if you're not uploading the same style, if you're uploading, let's just say, a very, very bad quality of image, your numbers are going to be significantly lower. If you're uploading very good images, your income is probably going to be significantly better. So, it just depends. But let's break things down into different scenarios, okay? So scenario A, if I didn't upload any more and I completely walked away for a whole entire year from this business on this account, I'd probably walk away with about $500 towards the end of the year, okay, for a full year. We're talking about a full year. We're not talking about if I stop now. Right now we're in April, all right? That doesn't count. I'm talking about for a full year, okay? Scenario B, if I upload on the same pace of the 6K for about every 14 days of work, 6K images that are published for every 14 days of work, we're estimating, and this is a very conservative estimate, probably a little bit too low, but about 14K. That's what the earnings will be. Once again, I'll talk in the next slide about how I actually came to these numbers, formulas, things like that. We'll talk about that. And then scenario C is if I uploaded about half the pace, with about 6K images uploaded in every month. Because remember, The first phase was about 13 to 14 days. What we did is we broke it down and we said, okay, what about if we took that number and did it throughout the whole entire month? Then we're looking at about 5.8K for the year, if you do that for a year. Now, why is these numbers not the same? See, this is the difference between calculus and normal algebra. People look at this and say, okay, there's double the work here, or half the work, but the numbers are not the same. They're not double. This should have been 7 if it was double, right? That makes sense from an algebraic standpoint. However, there's something that you have to accommodate for, which is momentum. Positive momentum, negative momentum, aka linear progression. In the world of calculus, you can't really exactly predict where things will be in the future unless you kind of understand where things are moving. And then you can kind of form a prediction. Imagine, for all the fighters who are listening, imagine it's kind of like when you're boxing somebody or when you're fighting somebody, you want to hit them where they're going to be, not where they're currently at, because by the time your fist moves to their face is going to be in a different position, and therefore you're not going to hit them. So that's kind of the point. Metaphorically speaking, we want to figure out where we're going to be, not where we are currently at. Which really goes to show, just from this analysis alone, and I didn't put up the actual mathematics here, but just from this analysis alone, gradual progression and momentum makes a huge difference, okay? Because if you were to multiply this by double, right, you would not get 14K, you would get less than 14K. And that could be about I don't know what the exact numbers are, but maybe 13, 14%, maybe 17% differential, which is quite significant, you know? If you had to do double the work, but you would get paid 117% more, you would do it. Or at least more, some people would, but I mean, maybe not everybody, because everybody has different preferences, but that's kind of the point. So what happens after years? We kind of calculated this. So after 1 year in scenario A, remember, after 1 year meaning on year 2. So assuming you did the work, you waited a year, and then the next year came along, right? You made $500, and then year 2 comes along. You wouldn't make $500 in scenario A. You'd make less. You'd make $320. So why is that? Once again, momentum. The lack of uploading, the lack of consistency, the lack of effort, year 2, you would make less than you would year 1. And that makes sense. It's called entropy, right? Entropy is the natural breaking down, all right? Scenario B, if you upload at the same pace, once again, of 6K images for every 14 days worth of work, after year 1, meaning year 2, you would make 33K in that year 2, okay? In that year 1, you would make, in that year 2 for scenario A, you would make 320. For scenario B, in year 2, which is after year 1, you would make 33K. Quite significant of a difference. Remember, the same work speed, year 1, you'd make 14K. Year 2, you would make 33K. Significant. You can see how things are kind of boosting up here. And then finally, in scenario C, you would make about 17K. That's just how the numbers kind of worked out. So, once again, scenario C, after year 1, year 2, a full year, right, you would make about 17K. You see how the numbers are rising. So, what happens after multiple years? Let's say 2 years, which is really technically 3. 2 years after the first event, the primary event. Why are the numbers moving so much, right? The answer comes down to consistency, momentum, and gradual progression, also known as linear progression. For all the calculus people who've taken a calculus class in high school, let's go back in time. Do you guys remember the y equals mx plus b formula? Yep, that's linear progression. But linear progression is not enough. We have to figure out quadratic equations. Why quadratic equations? Because things have a natural curvature. They have a natural change over time. And unfortunately, the linear progression formula doesn't accommodate for momentum. Things level off or things tend to ramp up. In the case of somebody who's consistently uploading, right, we tend to see a dramatic snowball effect over the years. Not as noticeable year 2. Not as noticeable year 1 at all. In fact, there is no snowball effect year 1. Not as noticeable year 2. But year 3, a very significant snowball effect. And that's why you could see here 78K after a full 2-year term, which is on the third year. That third full year would generate you 78K, not 78K total, 78K on that third year. Once again, snowball effect. And finally, scenario C, you're looking at about 36 to 48K. The reason why we have a range here is because we've ran this scenario with multiple variables here. Now, the formula is right here. When you're looking at a logistical formula or a logic equation, this is the formula. I'm not going to go through and read it all, but this is to handle what momentum does. Okay, once again, a normal linear progression type formula doesn't handle these kind of things. So how things change over time, especially over a longitudinal point of view, meaning over the long term, okay, does change things quite significantly. So scenario C, instead of making, let's see what scenario C was, 17K after year 1, which is essentially year 2, 17K, so a full year 17K, you'd make 36 to 48K after a 2-year term on that third year. That's pretty significant. So imagine you're in a business, and the very first year you make 5.8K, okay? Then the next year you make 17K. You're still doing the exact same amount of work. What happens is year C or year 3 happens, and this is once again that third scenario, you're making 36 to 48K that year. You see how things are progressing from a snowball effect? But we could see such a tremendous growth on scenario B. Scenario B is quite significant. We go from 14 to 33K. Yeah, we have a little bit of a snowball effect, but not significant, right? Maybe about 12% of a snowball effect, like extra growth. And then we go to and then the third year, which is after the 2 years, that full year, 78K. So you jump from making 33 to 78K. Imagine you're in the workforce and your boss gives you a pay raise. Instead of making $33,000 anymore, you go to 78K. That's a huge difference. That's like, I don't know, that's like working at McDonald's. I don't even know what people at McDonald's make, but let's just say they make $33K a year, right? Working as a full-time employee at McDonald's, and then going to become the regional manager per se. I don't know how much regional managers make, but you get the point. You get the significant growth with momentum, with time, okay? So what's really the takeaway here? Well, the takeaway depends on your point of view of things. You have to first know yourself. Peter Drucker, one of the greatest business analysts of all time, he says, he wrote a book, it's called Know Thyself. You have to know thyself. Are you able to do a certain amount of work over time? I can't answer that for you. Only you can, okay? You see how the growth changes over years, but consistency plays a huge role, okay? In my case, I have 2 larger accounts that I have been consistent on. This third account was made purely, like I said, for YouTube purposes. The people in the members area know and see. And I think it was a great example for me to create that type of content in the members area for people to get more accommodated and more comfortable to see what other people are doing. Let's face it, there is almost no creators out there who are actually showing what they're creating. There's always a shadow behind it. So you can go on Adobe Stock and you can search for images and see what other people are creating, but you don't know how much they're making. You don't know how much work they're doing or how not much work they're doing, because let's be honest, I didn't do much work. It was literally a matter of minutes of work throughout a 13 to 14-day period. So I kind of unleashed the veil, if you will, or rolled back the veil of anonymity behind these accounts, and I kind of reflected and showed what to expect. Now, this is over a very short period of time. If I stay consistent in posting, I can attain results like this on this specific account. If I don't, well, then the account is going to die off. I'll go from making $500 the first year to $320, right? Down to whatever number is here. Where is it? $110, doing nothing. Now, to be honest, making $110 on your third year is still pretty damn good, because remember what the original investment was for me to do this in a 13 to 40-day period. This was simply a few AI tools. That's all it was. I paid for Midjourney, okay, the software, which I believe for this account was $30. I paid for pretty much the cheapest account, not the $15 one, but the next one over. I have already the AI tools that I didn't spend any extra money on. I already paid for those. So on my bigger accounts. So really, if you really, really break it down, you're talking about a $30 investment. A $30 investment will yield $500 the first year, which actually, falls in line with exactly what I'm experiencing because 3 withdrawals of 25, we just passed the first quarter, right? Which is 75 plus the 100 that I'm about to pull out soon because the credit balance is 21 something. When that hits 25, that's going to be 100. So we just passed the first quarter. All I need to do is probably grow at least maybe 10% more, okay, if I effectively do nothing, meaning the market will be in my favor at just a little bit extra, and I'll be just at almost perfectly at 500, okay, if I do nothing. We're talking about if I do nothing for the rest of the year, all right? But the next year after that, once again, if I do absolutely nothing, not a single image added, it will be around 320. And then if we wait another year entirely for the earnings for that third year, it'll be $110, which if you really add it up, 500 plus 320, that's 820, plus 110, that's 930. $930 off of a $30 investment is not bad, right? Imagine you put $30 into a stock, and then 3 years later, that stock turns into $930. Most people would kill for that. That would be insane. However, people don't look at this kind of business like that. So, guys, what's to take away here? It doesn't matter if you're not doing stock photography or if you are. Any kind of business, momentum, gradual progression makes a huge difference, and consistency. And it will make a difference in the right direction, but also in the left direction, meaning in the negative. If you don't do the work, if you don't hustle, if you don't stay consistent, you're essentially going backwards in a major way. So you can make your decision if it was a good investment or not. Obviously, the mathematics show it was a tremendous investment. Not just was it good, but it was tremendous. Anybody, could figure that out pretty easily. But it's a matter of consistency, and also, not to mention, it's a matter of skill. Let's keep it real. Skill is picking the right niche, having a good eye to discern what images should be created. Not only that, but the right images in the right niches. The designs of the images, picking the right AI tool to create the images, giving ChatGPT the right information for it to provide you with the proper automation list. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, how do the automation tools work? Remember, if I want to automate Midjourney, I have to give it a list of prompts for it to submit, okay? And those lists we create from ChatGPT, right? I mean, you could use DeepSeek, you could use Manus, you could use whatever you want. But the point is we're giving it to an AI and it's giving us back a list, right? Now, what did I do to mitigate those kind of issues? Remember, we have a testing phase. The testing phase, before we submit these images, we get an idea for what we like, we get an idea for what we create, then we hand that over to the AI. The AI replicates us, multiplies the effect. We provide that list to the AI tool, the AI agent. Remember, this is the video for the AI agent, or excuse me, not the AI agent. The AI agent is made for tagging and titling. Where was the other video here? Somewhere. I know it's here somewhere. We've gone through so much content over the months, maybe even years, but this video right here, automating, right, creating those images. Once the images are created, we take them, we have them upscaled through an internal process. Remember, we showed that on the Superstock AI course. We take that, right, the upscaled images, the beautiful images, we upload them to Adobe Stock. Adobe Stock, we then use the AI agent, right? The AI agent is right here. Where's the video? Right here. And once again, I'll leave all the links in the description. Wait, this is not the AI agent video. Where's the AI? Right here. All right. We give it to the AI agent. The AI agent titles. It tags for us. We do absolutely no effort. When we go to submit all the images, we pick and choose the ones that we want. About 95% will be submitted. And there we go. That's it. Very plain and simple. Okay, just a matter of getting those images created. You do the math on the amount of effort that takes. We're talking about minutes. We're talking about a period of minutes throughout the whole entire 13 days. I said this before in one of my members' videos, I believe. I mentioned this. But I think I added up a period of how many minutes it took to create all 11,000 plus images. I think it took like maybe 60 something minutes to create all 11,000 plus images using an AI tool. And then to tag and title them took like another 90 something minutes. The only time that it took was for me to click to the next page for it to go ahead and create that. There were literally, we're talking over, 100 images a page. You multiply that to get to 11,000, you're looking at about 100 something plus pages of images. And all that wasn't uploaded at once. Remember, we have to upscale, we have to do all that. So it was quite the process that I didn't have to do any work for, really, if you really break it down. All I'm just clicking is a start and a stop button. Very simple. So is it a good investment? It's a phenomenal investment, but also it depends on your finesse. It depends on what work you're doing. It depends on your quality of work. Your quality of work makes a huge difference. You might have somebody here who their numbers might be a tenth of what you see because their quality is completely off, and they think they're doing well, but they don't have a clue as to what they're doing. So quality makes a huge difference, okay? Niche makes a difference. I'm not going to say it makes a huge difference, but it does make a difference. Let's just keep it real. If you're on a sinking ship, you're probably going to die. I mean, it doesn't really matter how good of a swimmer you are, you're probably going to be dead. And I'm speaking metaphorically speaking, obviously. Hopefully people understand that. But the point is niche makes a difference. Quality makes a difference. The type of tools that you're making a difference. And forget about it. If you're not using the same tools as I am, then you're definitely going to get lost in the dust. You're going to get lost behind. You're not going to have remotely as close to the amount of results that I'm going to have. So at the end of the day, guys, if everything was replicated, which is impossible by someone else, because you can't replicate exactly what I'm doing. You didn't post the same amount of time that I did. You didn't post the same images I did. You maybe post similar, but they're not the same. Very impossible to post the same. Nobody has time for that, okay? Your results might be better than mine. Your results might be worse. But at the end of the day, this is a pure estimation of what you can expect depending on your activity level. And there's simply no way to predict that. I can't predict how well someone will do or how well someone will not do due to commitment. There's a huge part of that. So at the end of the day, hopefully all the math freaks enjoyed this video. If you're not a math freak, hopefully you enjoyed this video still. This video took hours to prepare for, but hopefully you enjoyed, all right? I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Peace out. Bye.